Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything Pistons, and news writer for Sports Illustrated.
And all right, guys, we are recording here on a Sunday right before all of the 1 o'clock, or if you're in the central time zone like me, all the noon games start up for the NFL. So we're going to squeeze in here some Pistons preseason basketball. We've been excited to talk about that. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the games. And yeah, Blake, we're back, right? Now it's really official. Last time we were talking media day, looking forward to this. Now we actually have two preseason basketball games that we get to break down with you all today. I'm pumped.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah, we are back. It's nice to see some basketball being played again. So excited for the preseason, but then I feel like once you get that second game in, you're just like, all right, I'm ready for some actual action, ready for these games to count. But at least we finally have some on-court stuff to talk about.
And with the preseason, it's like, especially when you have a guy that just looks unbelievable, which, maybe us Pistons fans can relate to that, but you're watching that player and you're just going, man, gosh, I hope he doesn't get hurt. Oh, sorry about that. I got the music going on loop. That's my bad. Either way, we don't need the music going the whole way, but either way, yeah, like, Cade's played less than 40 minutes through these two games, and I swear for the last 20 of them in game two, I was just sitting there all nervous, like, we don't need this. It's okay. He can sit. I know I love watching him play, but please don't get hurt.
Yeah, and it's even if it's like the slightest thing, like I think Cade, like he got slightly hit in the eye or something, and it wasn't
and he went to the locker room to start the second half there against the Bucks, I think it was, and I was like, oh my god.
Like it's fun watching him absolutely dominate the preseason, but I'm right there with you. I feel like there's no need for, like, he's ready to go. We know who he is. He looks even better than what he did last year, and I'm really excited. I think we're going to talk more about the preseason games that already happened against the Grizzlies and the Bucks, but the main takeaway is just Cade is still incredible. No one's really shocked, but he might get to another level, which is kind of scary.
All right, let's actually talk about Cade here for a second. I think there are two things that are interesting. One, the injury thing. Like, do we really need to see Cade anymore this preseason? I kind of vote no. It sounds like you probably would agree with that. But if you remember back, right, guys, if we all remember back to like his rookie year, year two, year three, and then, last year too. So to my memory, every single season that Cade has played in the preseason, and he didn't play his rookie year preseason. That's right. He had an injury. So those 3 years that he played in the preseason, it didn't look like this. He wasn't scoring like this. He wasn't looking for a shot. He was really trying to be that distributor. I can remember it being a really big talking point, in particular last preseason, saying like, he's not looking all that aggressive. He doesn't look quite right. It looks like he's passing up stuff. Is this going to track on into the regular year? And of course it doesn't. And he goes on to have that all NBA second team year or third team year that he did last year. But this is a different version of Cade in the preseason. And while you're going, I'm going to see if I can't look up those previous preseason stats for us so I could pull it up and compare it to today. But yeah, what have you thought about that difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cade has always been a player who he can control the game. The classic, the game is slow for him and everything, but I feel like we've just seen that gradually increase, and it's really hitting another level so far of what we've seen heading into year 4. So that's what I'm excited for. And of course, the competition that he's playing against isn't as good as what you're going to see in the regular season, but he's also played less than 20 minutes each game, averaging right around 19 or 19 on the nose. So yeah, I think he's just been incredible, and I'm not surprised in the slightest. He's also got to the line a bit, mainly in the game against the Bucks, getting to the line 8 times and making all 8 of his free throws, which is awesome to see. And the shot looks good too, like 2 for 3 from deep in the first game, 2 for 5 in the second. So I think like I'm looking for a more consistent 3 from Cade, I guess. I mean, he was already pretty good last year, but I think he can get to another level and he's showed the ability so far. But yeah, just in general, he's the best player on the floor when in the Pistons 2 preseason games so far. And of course, when they played the Bucks, Giannis wasn't on the court. But he's just like he looks like he doesn't belong. It's kind of like a Ron Holland dominating in summer league this year situation.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. And all right, so I found these. All right, so I'm just going to read off going all the way back to 22, 23, and then progressing up to this year. So we could kind of get the picture of just how stark this difference is. So in 22, 23, in that preseason, he plays 4 games. It's 10.5 points, 4.8 assists, and 5 rebounds. He slashed 30, 21, and 87. So that's his first preseason that he played because the year prior he was hurt. Moving on to the next year, 23-24, 3 preseason games. He scores 11 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists on 37, 45, and 100. He made all of his free throws that year. All right, last preseason, 5 preseason games, 13 points, 4.8 rebounds, 6.4 assists on 50, 23, 80. All right, so what's Cade doing this year? In less than 20 minutes per game, so in 18.7 minutes per game, in 2 preseason games, Cade Cunningham is averaging 23 points, 5 assists, 4.5 rebounds, and only 2 turnovers. He's slashing 64, 50, 91 at his field goals, 3-pointers, and free throws, respectively. I did not expect this at all. I really thought that we were going to be seeing more of the same. And I think what's so maybe interesting or shocking about it is the field goal percentage, right? If you keep going back, he was always under 50. And part of that was not being all that aggressive and just really looking for his teammates. But part of it also was some of the shots that he was taking. This year in the preseason, I don't know if he's been incredibly aggressive. I think we've all seen Cade be more aggressive as a scorer in the past. But the ease at which he's getting the looks he wants, and not just mid-range pull-ups, right? Like really good looks at the rim, wide open step back threes. He's creating so much. The ease at which he's doing that, and then actually the rate at which he's knocking all of these down is, I'm just shocked. I don't know exactly what to make of it. Like, is this his 50% speed, Blake? Is this what we're seeing right now? Because
I think so.
He's played slow. And now he's just doing what he wants anyway, I guess. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, stars across the league, like Shea comes to my mind. Like a guy who can just get a bucket no matter what the defense is throwing at him, and that's what we've seen from Cade so far. I mean, of course, he's not gonna keep up these numbers or as much when the regular season gets going, especially with the minutes he's playing. But I mean, he averaged 26 points a game last year. I'm pretty optimistic about him being able to increase that, maybe get in the 28 points a night range, because it just seems like he's more comfortable out there, which is wild because he has always been that type of player who knows how to play the game, can slow things down. Even when he was younger in his career, I think that's that's the thing that we see young players struggle with a lot. And Cade just looks super, super poised. Like he never really panics and stuff. I mean, there are some nights where the shot doesn't fall. You're going to have that no matter who it is, but he just seems to be improving, which is awesome to see for Pistons fans. Like scary sight for the rest of the league, because it's like how far can he get? And it's only year 4 too. He's just going to be starting his rookie extension. So yeah, it's a scary sight. I hope we don't see too much from Cade in the last 2 preseason games, but but yet he just looks ready to go. Like there's no other way to say it. Cade's awesome. He's going to take this team to heights that just like take another step, and who knows where that can get eventually. So he's just been incredible so far.
And I'll just say, I even myself, I keep falling into this trap, and I should probably stop. But, there's so much conversation on the DBB website. We've even talked about it on the Pistons Pulse before, that like, hey, maybe Cade's going to take fewer shots per game. Maybe his points per game average is going to go down, but that's probably a good thing because you've got Jaden Ivey that's going to be stepping up, and Cade likes to be that distributor anyway. And I can remember all the way back to his rookie year and in that draft process the summer before, and I was having conversations with our guy Bryce Simon talking about, well, maybe Cade won't be the highest scorer on a championship team, but he'll definitely be the best player. If one of his teams wins a championship, he's that good of a prospect where one day he'll probably be the best player on that team. So I had always, and I had agreed with that back then, kind of agreed with it even up till now. I'd always thought he was more of the, like the Chauncey Billups type rather than your like Rip Hamilton scorer or something, if you want to make that kind of comparison. But every season that Cade has played, he's played so much more like an SGA or like a Luka, or the type of usage that you've seen from like, LeBron, even though he doesn't have that kind of athleticism. I think I just need to accept that Cade thinks he's that kind of guy. And damn it, he's right. Like looking at the start of the preseason and the year he had last year, I'm dropping it. I don't think those field goal attempts are going down at all. I think his points per game is only going to go up, right? He's going to get himself into that realm because that's where he wants to be. And if there were any doubts left, seeing him go maybe 50, 60% here in the preseason and then slash 60, 50, 91, scoring over 20 points per game in about 18 minutes per game. Oh my Lord. That's unbelievable. So he is who he thinks he is. He's right. That's what I'm going to say.
And I don't think we're going to see, like, I don't think potential leap scoring wise for him will necessarily come at the expense of what he does as a playmaker. Like he had 6 assists in 19 minutes with 26 points against the Bucks as well. Like he's the guy who is going to be the center point of the offense. Yes, it'll be harder in the regular season when he's the center point of every game plan. I mean, he still is, even in the preseason, but averaging 9 assists a game last year, I just think he's going to have so much opportunity. Like he's the guy, obviously there's no arguing that he's going to be what makes this offense go. And if those looks become a little bit harder for him to get in the season, he's still going to make plays. Like you essentially are going to see him score and make plays for his teammates no matter what the defense throws at him. Some nights it'll be harder than others, but he's just a matchup nightmare for anyone that this team plays, which is awesome to see. Like Michael brought up in the chat, the Grant Hill comparison. The Pistons haven't had a player like this in so long. And like you mentioned, Wes, he's sort of fitting into that modern NBA star type, and those players are so hard to come by. So the Pistons winning the lottery in the Cade year is just looking luckier and luckier by the day.
And you brought up SGA, so I was curious. I went and looked at what the Thunder did last year as a team, because SGA, he leads the league in field goal attempts last year, 21.8 field goal attempts. Also leads the league in points per game, 32.7. And so you think, okay, given this, the same level of logic, right? Well, if we're looking at Cade, his field goal attempts probably need to go down so that Jaden Ivey can get some of his and Nassar can take a step forward, all that stuff. The Thunder had 7 players that averaged more than 10 points per game. not only does SGA average 32.7, but Jalen Williams 21.6 while shooting about 17 field goal attempts per game. Chet Holmgren was at 10.7 field goal attempts per game, averaging 15 points. My point here is, like, the Pistons aren't the Thunder. They don't have this kind of depth where I think they could have 7 guys averaging over 10 points per game. But you could get Cade SGA's level of output and still have a guy get up near 20. Right? It's not the case anymore. This was true at one point, even in our lives. We're talking like old heads now, but we're not. This was true even back in the early 10s, where if you had a guy that was shooting that much, there's really not all that much room to go around for much ball to go around for anyone else. And I just don't think that that's really true anymore. Though the way that teams are able to facilitate offense, the way that like you mentioned, the league superstars right now get everybody else involved too. We got Caleb in the chat talking about Jokic. He's the same way, right? He shoots the ball a ton, but averages a triple double, right? And it doesn't take his team's offense, kind of like it did with OKC with Westbrook when he was averaging his triple double. So I think the league's just a little bit different now. And yeah, man, Cade might be gearing up for one heck of a year. You're right. The luck the Pistons got grabbing that lottery pick number 1 that year was looking really good right about now.
Yeah, and it's just funny to think back, like the year after with Wemby and everything, and the disappointment of being up there in terms of the odds and not getting it. Like, I just can't help but think of how lucky they were to win the lottery in the year that they did. And I mean, obviously, Wemby's a different type of generational player, but I think Cade is definitely in that conversation to really be one of the league's best players for the next 10 years, however long his career lasts. And the league is looking for its next. Like, I feel like all their new-ish superstars are international players. I mean, Shea being from Canada, obviously different from like the European guys, but I really think that Cade is like the next American star that this league has, and we'll see what Cooper Flagg turns into, obviously, but he's just incredible. We saw the league give Cade more national discussion, I guess, last year. I think we're seeing that coming into this year, just even with the league account, like tweeting about Cade's practices and stuff like that. So I just think he's the guy. He's the player I am most optimistic about, at least in the Eastern Conference, like being that star for the next however many years. And it's just incredible that he's a Piston, and he is at least about to start an extension with this team, and who knows where he can take him. I can't put any ceiling on it.
And that's the kind of stuff where Michael Dampier's Grant Hill comparison goes even deeper, right? Because if Cade becomes kind of him or Ant are probably the American face of NBA basketball right now. And if that's the kind of media attention that he starts to bring, that's the kind of stuff that Grant Hill was getting to back in the day. So yeah, I wasn't on board with that comp back when he was drafted, but he has proven me wrong. So let's look at a couple other takeaways here from the preseason. That's 20 minutes, guys, on Cade Cunningham, and we could have gone the whole podcast. That's how good he's been playing.
He's the main takeaway.
He is the biggest takeaway. But let's look at some other stuff too. I want to talk about Asar Thompson, because we've seen him kind of taking that ball handling role more so early on here in the preseason. Actually, that's part of, I think, why Cade's been able to get some of the easy looks that he have. Not because Asar's doing anything incredible with the ball in his hands, but they're able to get Cade on a secondary motion off ball to kind of create an advantage for him, and then he can attack out of that, which has been really interesting and fun to watch. He's not having to do it all himself anymore. But looking at Asar specifically, what have you thought about him kind of with the ball in his hands more? A little bit more point Asar than I think we both expected.
Yeah, I'm trying to question whether it's something that is being a trial run over the preseason, or if we're going to see more of this when it counts. I think we've heard JB Bickerstaff talk about wanting to get the ball in Asar's hands more. So I think you will see it more, but it's like, how much of it will we see? And we'll find out soon on how the first like 5-10 games goes. And I think he's looked decent overall with the ball in his hands. I think it's more just about being able to connect on opportunities he gets, to whether it's making plays or if he's creating offense for himself. We've seen him get to the line a decent amount. Connecting on the free throws is another thing. So really for Asar, I think it's just about finding ways to capitalize on that offense he is able to generate. To me, his handle looks a little bit better. I think it's still a work in progress, but overall, I think you're going to see this team try new things with Asar this year. It comes with a little bit of a, how much runway do we want to give him with different expectations that this group has this year. But overall, and what he's done as a defender over the preseason, I think has been awesome. So, he's going to bring that too. And the offensive side has always been the question with him. So he just needs to be able to connect on more. I don't think we're ever going to see him be that 3-point shooter. Like, he didn't take a 3 against the Bucks, took 1 against the Grizzlies that he missed as well. So overall, like, he got to the line 10 times against the Bucks and only connected on 5 of those free throws. So I think if you see more of that and he's able to connect on free throws, attempts near the rim at a higher rate, I'm optimistic about it, but it's sort of been up and down over the first 2 preseason games for me.
Yeah, and since we're talking about Asar's handle a little bit, let's actually play a voicemail question that we got here from a fella from the DBB comments, talking or asking about his handle in particular, and then also about the defense a little bit. So here is a fella.
Hey, this is a fella from the DBB comments. As always, love the pod, and I can't wait till we can actually talk about some real basketball. My questions are, 1, what did you think of Asar's handle during the preseason? And 2, what did you think of the defense as a whole? Because I tuned in, and we were down like 28-12 or something in the first quarter. So I'm wondering, I had to tune back out to go to work, but I'm just wondering how the defense performed as a whole. All right. I hope to hear y'all soon. Bye-bye.
All right, so let's start off here with the handle, and then we'll move over to the defense. So you mentioned that it looked like it was still a little bit of a work in progress, though a bit improved from last year. What has been the improvement? Where's there still room to grow for Asar's ball handling?
Yeah, I think he does look like the handle looks a little bit tighter to me. I don't think he has like a super tight handle anymore. And I think the discussion with Asar has always been him handling the ball in the half court versus doing it in transition, because we know what an incredible athlete he is and can turn his incredible defense into quick offense. So overall, I think you have seen the work over the offseason, at least a little bit of improvement so far over these exhibition games. We'll see what it turns into over the rest of the preseason and the regular season as it starts. But I think there's an intentionality of JB Bickerstaff and maybe even the front office, like getting him more opportunity to handle the ball. And I assume that's because they've seen the improvement and believe he is capable of taking those opportunities. And like you said, it opens the door a little bit more for what Cade Cunningham can do offensively. So with Asar, I think he's just tightened the handle a bit. I think it's still a work in progress and something you're going to see him continue to work on and hopefully can continue to improve. It's not perfect by any means, I don't think. And he still has a long ways to go there, but I think you're seeing it get a little bit better and tighter. And he's not he's not a player that you get like super terrified if he has the ball in their hands, like we've talked about with some other guys and wanting to avoid those situations. But it's still to me, like we saw Jaden Ivey in the first preseason game. I'm sure we'll talk about him in a bit, but if it's Ivey, Cade, and Asar on the floor, I think you're definitely still going to want most of the on-ball reps coming from Cade and Ivey. But if Asar can make things happen, I think he has the ability to be an on-ball guy and make things happen for Cade and Ivey and whoever else is on the floor. But I think there's still ways to go there, even though there has been some improvement.
So have you noticed he loses the ball a lot when he gets contact? Because this is something that goes all the way back to the OTE days for him. And it's showing up again quite a bit here in the preseason. It's been a consistent, at least in my opinion, through most of his career. He just can't seem to maintain possession of that ball through physical defense. And now, to his credit, he only has 2 turnovers through these first 2 preseason games, which I'll raise my hand, I was shocked by with the amount of times he lost control of the basketball. But he's so athletic and so quick twitch that he's able to just get it right back and kind of progress with the offensive play after still losing that ball. So I think that's a big deal. To me, Asar I've always thought that he's kind of the definition of your secondary creator. And what I mean by that is the traditional idea of a secondary creator, not a guy that you can give the ball to and he'll be kind of a point guard for say 30% of the game, and as opposed to your primary creator guy, but that traditional second side guy, where if you could have an advantage created for him, you're really confident that he can make a play out of that. And the great thing with Asar is that he's such a good passer and reader of the floor that you're really confident it's not just only going to be a play for him, that he can even create for others out of maybe a slanted floor. But that's not usually the type of player that you want to be running high pick and rolls with, or just asking to kind of create an advantage on their own on the strong side. So I think that we've seen that so far. That's kind of been how this has played out. He's made nice plays when the ball's already been in motion and he's kind of in phase with the offense. And he's really good at that. We saw him excel at that last season. And so can he take that next step to being a guy that you actually get everybody in position, create a little bit of an advantage for themselves so the defense has to start and shift and then start to spray the ball out from there? I mean, I'm skeptical. It's only been 2 preseason games, right? And I get why they're doing this, because if you've got a guy like Asar who frankly is going to struggle to score a little bit, he's only 42% from the floor through these first 2 preseason games. And, obviously he was a little over 50 last year, but we want to get that up closer to 60 ideally. So if you've got a guy that's a bit offensively challenged when it comes to putting the ball in the basket, then if you could get him to be this really good kind of early career Lonzo Ball type playmaker for everyone else and get the assist numbers up, that's gravy, right? That's a way he can be effective on offense. I'm still skeptical of it. The ball's still really high for him. He dribbles up closer to his hip than down any lower than that. He's still chest up with his hips back, so he moves a little mechanically, even though he's so quick with it. And like I said, with the contact, I think the bigger concern with that to me is, yes, he's losing the ball, but if he's losing the ball, that also means that there's a secondary step he needs to take there. So it's not just maintain possession, but also if you encounter contact, you need control of the ball to dish the ball out, right? So he needs to improve on maintaining possession of the ball so that he can then improve on getting the ball out when he hits that contact off a live dribble, which we've also seen him struggle with. He's had quite a few off-target passes that, again, surprised they haven't been turnovers. That's a credit to his athleticism and the athleticism of the guys on the Pistons roster to be able to corral those. But yeah, I'll just say I've not been super impressed by it yet, but this is just 2 preseason games, right? So he's got plenty of time to try and figure it out. I don't know how often they're going to go to this during the year. Like you mentioned, you got Jaden Ivey, who's going to take a lot of those reps, but at least for now, I'm with you. It's very much a work in progress.
I think you'll see the team try to use Asar's on-ball reps a little creatively in the sense of getting him, like trying to put him in situations where he can create an advantage. And if the advantage doesn't come for Asar, maybe it comes for another player. Like you saw, he ran a couple DHOs with like Duncan Robinson, I believe, and with how good a shooter Duncan is, like Duncan's defender tries to go over the screen, and then maybe that gets a switch where Asar, with how quick he is, can take an advantage there. Or if the defender is a little bit late, then Duncan Robinson gets a clear look, and that's frankly, hopefully most of the time, an easy pass for Asar to make. So overall, I like that a bit. I think you're going to see him in some of those quick actions if he is initiating offense in the half court. I don't think we're going to see a ton of it, but it's nice to see that there does seem to be an effort of trying to create those advantages for Asar, and especially like without Cade or Ivy involved, to like hopefully get a bucket without having those two to have the weight on the world of their shoulders. And I think you can use that if it's Karis LeVert on the floor, or if like Tobias Harris is out there. We've seen Isaiah Stewart hit some threes over the preseason too, and we think he's going to shoot the ball a little bit more. So I just think it's about allowing Asar to really make things happen with his athleticism, because he's quicker than a lot of players in this league. So if he can find more clear pass to the basket or whatever with him, then I think you'll see a little bit more success. But overall, I'm with you in the sense of I just think it's a work in progress still, and it's not a finished product, but hopefully we see it improve over this year and obviously in years to come as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the difference between if you're a defender with you're squared up, feet set, in stance, ready to defend, you're probably not too worried about Asar Thompson. But assuming Asar has the ball, but if your feet aren't set, right, and you're not squared up to him and he's moving, or he's coming at you on the fast break, or you've got to close out on that guy, even though he's not a great shooter, he's so fast, right? Like that's where I think Asar is really dangerous. Anytime you could get the defender kind of off kilter and then let Asar attack that, I'm at this point very confident that Asar Thompson can make a really good play. It's where he's attacking a set defense, then it's not as much. Quickly, let's hit on Jaden Ivey. We've only seen one game from Jaden Ivey, and it apparent that there was a little bit of rust there. So he had 7 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound, and 3 turnovers. He was 40% from the floor, 1 of 1 from 3, and 2 of 2 from the free throw line. What did you think of the first we've seen of Jaden Ivey since January?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, definitely a little rust, which is to be expected. And I mean, I'm interested to see if we'll see him in the rest of the preseason. I'm hoping we will, just to get more of a sample size. Like he only played 14 minutes in that one game, which isn't a ton less than like Cade Cunningham, for example, who saw 19 minutes of action. I thought it was an okay performance. Like you mentioned, he was decent from the field, connected on his only 3 he took, and also got to the line and connected on both of those free throws. So I'm optimistic, because all of the chatter we've heard from the team who's working with him every day, they said he's ready to go. He looks great. Of course, once you get some game action, even if it's preseason, it might take a little bit to come along, but I think it's just a little too early to even really evaluate what we're going to see from Jaden Ivey this year. I mean, I'm hoping it's more of what he was doing before he went down for injury last year, and maybe he can take another step. But I think that step could take some time just because he hasn't played in actual games in so long.
It was funny, it was a little bit like rookie Jaden Ivey, right? Like his 3 turnovers that he had that game, they were all kind of out of control plays that he had. He was just going too fast. And we talked about Asar Thompson losing the ball during contact. Yeah, Jaden Ivey, he was going a little too fast. There was one, I think, on a fast break, guy tried to take a charge on him because had his head down. And this was at the free throw line, which was, again, to speak to how out of control Jaden Ivey was on this. The guy was attempting a charge at the free throw line. And Ivey tries to maneuver around him, kind of jumps in the air, tries to sidestep, and then loses the ball. Like there was a lot of that going on for him. I think you're right. It's just kind of rust. We've seen him. He's past that. He's gotten over that. So it's just getting back to playing 5-on-5 basketball on an NBA floor. Yeah. I think that it was smart too to give him off for that Bucks game. I'm sure the first NBA basketball that you play in months is going to make your body pretty sore as compared to what you had been doing with your training stuff, no matter how hard you were working. So I think that was smart. Kind of use this preseason to acclimate a little bit. I would expect maybe we see him over these last 2 preseason games, just in the first half, just to continue getting those legs underneath him. Right? You don't want him to be all that rusty during the regular season, but. Yeah, I don't think there was, frankly, I didn't think there was too much to really take away from that. It's just, he looked off. He looked out of control. He looked like a guy who hasn't played basketball since January of this year. So if this, continues in like a month into the regular season, okay, we'll be having a second conversation then. But for right now, I personally don't think it's much to worry about. He looked fine. He looked like a rusty Jaden Ivey.
Yeah, that was my takeaway too. And I think if you do see the Pistons put Cade on the shelf for the rest of the preseason, then I will be a little more intrigued to see what Jaden Ivey does if he does get considerable minutes. But like obviously he's going to play next to Cade a ton over the regular season, but just to get him more of those reps, more opportunities with the offense. And we think he is going to run the second unit and play a decent amount with Cade off the floor as well. So I'm interested to see what it looks like, but I think he just needs more reps. Like it was nice to see him back out there. And I think it'll take some time, which is what the preseason is for. So I think it's a positive.
All right, let's circle back around to a fellow's question really quick, because he did ask about the defense in that Grizzlies game. The Grizzlies got out to a really big lead there in the first quarter. What did you think about the defense there from that starting unit? That was Cade, Ivey, Asar, Harris, and Stu, right? I believe was the starting 5 there for that game. So what did you think of their defense? What happened there in the first quarter?
Yeah, well, so obviously the Grizzlies outscored the Pistons by 42 points, or not, they scored 42 points. They outscored the Pistons by 18 in the first quarter. And then the Pistons answer that with a 50-point second quarter, outscore the Grizzlies by 28 points. So rocky start for the defense, but I do, and Cam in the chat is mentioning like process over results for the preseason, which is definitely true. And I think as a whole, you've seen, other than that first quarter, you've seen pretty good process for this defense and from Asar Thompson specifically. I think, and especially when he was playing alongside some of the younger players or less experienced players like Chaz Lanier and guys of that sense, I think you could notice Asar almost quarterbacking the defense when he was out there. And it seemed like they were in position, making the right rotations and everything. And other than that slow start, just not getting beat overall. So I think Asar's defense has been really solid. I'd expect nothing less overall, but I think if we think that he's going to develop into this defensive player of the year caliber player, all defense guy, whatever it might be, I think you've seen his ability to do that. And although he's already a great defender, he's been really good over the preseason. And especially in that game against the Bucks too. Like, I think it was even more noticeable how he was controlling things out there and not getting beat and being in the right spots and helping his teammates out, which I think is a huge benefit to Asar Thompson's game, in addition to everything he does himself and his ability to get steals and blocks and turn defense into quick transition offense, because we know he's hardest to guard in transition. So I think it's a positive as well. That slow start against Memphis in the first preseason game was kind of like, what's going on here? But it was nice to see the quick answer from the team and actually come back and win that game.
And that first quarter, did Memphis miss a three? Like, honestly, I don't think they missed a three until the second quarter. I think if they did, it came really late. They were unconscious from deep.
Mm-hmm.
And, just looking at the rotations, this wasn't like a couple of years ago where the Pistons were just missing a ton of rotations and all of these looks were wide open. Like, yeah, you expect teams to go off from three when they're getting wide open looks. There were a couple of missed rotations, and I believe, at least to my eye, they were Jaden Ivey. So, we're talking about his rust on offense. I think he was rusty on defense as well. I think he missed a couple of off-ball rotations, which he's struggled with at times throughout his career. So, again, it's not too shocking to see him struggle with now being a little bit rusty. If a guy's going to be rusty, you figure it's going to be things they've historically had some issues with that they've only recently worked through. And to me, that's what it looked like Ivy was struggling with a little bit against Memphis. So I think there was some of that. I did think he was better there in the second quarter. But for the most part, the team, Memphis was just unbelievable. They were hitting everything from three, and that's really what generated that sort of offensive output. I think you saw once they regressed to the mean a little bit there, they didn't look like a juggernaut, and the Pistons were able to run away in the second quarter and third quarter of that game. So yeah, I'm not too, I thought the defense was fine. Ivy's got a lot to clean up, but you knew that was going to happen. He hasn't played with these guys for a long time. There's going to be some communication issues there. So I think you can expect he's going to figure that out here as the preseason, as the season comes around too. Last thing that I had, you brought up Ron Holland a little bit. This was just kind of a fun thing. So this is the last thing that I made note of for this show, but the trio of Asar, Ron, and Isaiah Stewart, that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Against the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know if it looked great. It was really messy at times. I think the offense, when Cade went out and you had those three guys still out there, and this is just general too, when they were trying to run the offense more through Asar and Ron and a little bit Levert, but mostly those two guys. It looked a little stagnant. It wasn't great, and things looked better and moved quicker when you had Sasser come out there, when you had Levert try to take some of the point guard duties away. But for as maybe not the most productive as it could have been, it was entertaining. I mean, chaos was the right word, right? From media day with Ron and Asar talking about what they can bring. It was very chaotic out there. I think it made for some entertaining basketball, seeing those three running around with their heads cut off.
Yeah, and they're gonna make you work. Like you said, the offense is the question there, but I think on defense they're just going to be annoying to play against, and maybe it's not a trio we see a ton on the floor together at the same time once the regular season starts, but I think it would benefit the Pistons to definitely use it, especially in offense defense situations. So I like it as well. And obviously we haven't seen Jalen Duren over the preseason so far with his day-to-day thing. I don't think anything's like a huge concern there, but yeah, I think Isaiah Stewart and Ron Holland, like you'll see them out there at the same time, and hopefully like Asar worked in with the group a little bit. Because yeah, like Asar and Ron talked about it with their whole 9 to 5 thing, and I think that they're just pesky, and it'll be fun to watch. Like you said, when we saw it out there in the preseason, it was chaotic, which I think is what they're trying to do, what they've said that they're trying to do. And they can say it all they want because they can talk the talk and walk the walk, essentially. Like there's not there's not really a way to get around it when you have those three players, and even just like Asar and Ron and Stu at the same time. I think it'll be fun to watch.
And it's actually kind of funny, just thinking about Asar and Ron in particular, but I think their stat lines so far through these two games kind of show the difference between these two players, and maybe part of why it could be so fun with these guys both out on the floor together. But so Asar Thompson, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover in 2.5 stocks. He's slashing 42-0. He hasn't made a three yet, and then 50% from the free throw line. Ron Holland is also scoring 8 points per game in these two games, but only 1.5 rebounds, 2 assists as well, but 2 turnovers and 1 stock, that being a steal. But he's slashing 50, 33, 50. So neither of these two are doing all that great from the free throw line, and they're both getting there quite a bit. So credit to both of those guys so far. But Ron has been more efficient from the floor. I think his shot looks pretty good. I'm getting cautiously more optimistic that, assuming he's up over 30%, it's closer to 35 than it is 30, right? I think that shot's looking actually pretty good. But their offensive production in terms of points scored is the same. How they're getting it and how they're impacting the offense is very different, right? Asar has been less efficient. He's had the ball more, but he's also creating more looks for others. I think the rebounding's a huge difference, and that's that's tracked from last year, right? Asar was a better rebounder last year than Ron Holland was. I think that we're seeing that again. So it's just interesting that you look at these two guys and you think, hey, maybe that's the wing forward pairing of the future for this Pistons team. And they're both super athletic wings and / forwards who can do a lot with the ball, who are menaces on defense, and yet they are different. It's not duplicating the effort between these two. They do bring a little bit of uniqueness, which is just kind of fun to compare through these two games, I think.
Yeah, I think the swing factor with it, if they are going to be the wing forward, and then you have Jalen Duren out there, is Ron's shot. So it has been nice to see. Like, he hasn't shot the lights out or anything like that, but he's made 2 of his 6 threes. We saw what he did in summer league. It seems like he is getting more comfortable with the shot. It seems like it's a focus point for Fred Vinson and the whole coaching staff to have him improve there. Whereas with Asar, it seems like they're working on more of the mid range and more of the helping on free throws. So I think you can just take it, like, it's all about what they're going to be on offense, because that they're going to be pests on defense. They're going to cause nightmares for whoever they're playing. And if they're not stopping offense, they're at least making it difficult, which is good and keeps things a challenge throughout the length of a game, which will be super important for them. But yeah, I think you'll continue to see them be different types of offensive players just because of who they are. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think if that pairing is going to work on the floor at the same time together, Ron's shot really is the swing factor. He's still only going into year 2, so plenty of time to get it up from what it was in his rookie year, and then hopefully even greater, and hopefully be like a league average type 3-point shooter overall. So I'm comfortable letting it fly with him a bit over the season. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I feel like that could change fairly quickly, but I think the shot is definitely improving. It's not a sure thing, but I'm with you. I'm definitely cautiously optimistic about it.
And shout out Isaiah Stewart real quick. Through 2 games, 10 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 1 block. 61, 67, 67. He's shooting it more. He's making them at a rate you would expect for the type of shots that he's getting. I mean, obviously he's been hot, right? You don't think he's going to be at 67% from 3 all year, but he's making the shots that you expect him to be taking. He's not doing anything else, which is great. He looks awesome. I think, one of my last big takeaway is everybody other than Jaden Ivey. And you would expect this because he hasn't played basketball in so long. So of course he looked rusty, but I thought that everybody other than Jaden Ivey looked pretty comfortable out there, which is awesome, especially when you're talking about Ron Holland, who's just entering year 2, and Asar Thompson, who's going to have a little bit of a larger offensive role than what he's had in the past. You're looking at guys that are improving, and I think this is just the benefit of being in year 2 in a coach's system, right? Where we can actually start to see some of that year over year growth, where we haven't necessarily had the luxury so much of seeing that in the past, at least since Dwayne Casey left. So I think it was exciting first 2 games, I think. You got anything else, Blake, before we wrap it up?
I mean, similar vein, just hopefully that continues. We have 2 more preseason games before the regular season starts. And yeah, the players have been asked about having the same coaching staff, the same front office, and that consistency. That obviously we've seen Cade look super comfortable out there, which isn't a shock. I mean, as comfortable as he looks and as much as he's doing offensively is definitely more than you could ever expect. But I think it's carried over for some of the other group too. And yeah, with so much change for, you name it, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, the Jaden Ivey over their careers, it's nice to have that consistent approach. And yeah, mainly over the last 2 games, I think I'm just looking for if we are going to see Jaden Ivey and then what he does over that time, especially if there is some more reps to be had if Cade's put on the shelf a bit before the regular season.
All right. I think we can end it there. We'll wrap it up here right before the start, the kickoff here for all of these 1:00 games. So, hopefully by the time you guys are listening to this, the Lions have beaten the Chiefs. And unfortunately, the Tigers did lose the other night, but shout out to the Tigers for the great season they had. And, let's have the Pistons continue on the good vibes here for Detroit sports.
100%. And shout out to a fella for using the voice line. Always appreciate you. Reminder for everyone, you can call our number, ask a question, hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys for all the great questions and talking points. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you all.